from the messy room, it's me. Welcome to Pop-O-Holics, show about hot takes, hotter than pancakes. I'm your host, Christian Katie, and I'm joined by, sadly, my third best friend.
Third best friend, Chris Conkling, is here. You know, Christian,
sorry.
While Dad is away, the boys will play. And I have to say, we're going to miss Brian very much this week. But if we were ever to get canceled, this would be the week. Because we don't have Brian
to rein us in.
We don't have Brian to reel us in.
No.
So let's see what happens.
Oh, we're going to be fine without him. You know, frankly, I don't think we need him. What do we do on this show? Well, you know, it's just me and Chris. So we're going to give something back to the community. We're going to do the whole weekly upload on YouTube this week as well. So if you want to see our faces for this, if you're listening on the audio feed, head on over to YouTube. And if you're on the YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe here, smash that subscribe button, and then go to the old link tree down below and subscribe on the audio feed if you ever want to listen to us on the go. But what do we do here? We talk about the latest going-ons in pop culture. We got some news. You know, it's Brian's Wacky News Corner, but...
Not this week.
Not this week. No, it's going to be Chris and Christian's very complacent, normalized news week. We got some Doctor Who info, SNL shakeups, and some updates on the ScarJo lawsuit. We got some really cool movies coming out that we're going to highlight, some TV shows and stuff that we're going to just shout out, let you know what's coming up this week. And a couple video games. And then we're going to dive into what we've been consuming. Chris, we did the flip-floppy. Chris has been playing a video game, and I watched a series based on a graphic novel. So it's quite topsy-turvy.
What's happening this week, Christian? Brian's not here. I'm playing video games. You're watching graphic novel television shows. The world is a mess.
Cats
right
are sleeping with bigger cats. It's also, I would know, in case this episode gets a little sloppy, I did it. Sober September over, baby.
Happy October 1st, my friend.
So this is the kind of drink you make after Sober September ends, and you're enjoying fun times with your friends.
Fun time October.
For the YouTube content filter, this is water.
And what tasty water it looks like. Let me take a sip of my water as well.
Well, yours is a black box of a cup you got there. All right, let's delay no further. Let's jump into things the way we always do with Chris and Christian's Wacky News. So not the way we always do, but the way we're doing it today, Chris and Christian's Wacky News Corner. All right, this is weird. I feel weird being in the news chair.
Is weird.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how Brian does it. You got so many notes going around. I'm having to brighten my screen. Looks like we've got, I'm going to hand this one right off to you. We've got Russell T. Davies to return as Doctor Who showrunner. I don't know what any of those words mean, Chris. You know, we did a Doctor Who month if you're a big fan of it. So, we had a real Pop-O-Holics reacts. I had never seen it, and you were very familiar with the series. So for Doctor Who fans, we do have some content, a whole month just for you. But Chris, please explain to the layperson and maybe to the Doctor Who nerd as well, why is this a big deal?
So in 2023, Chris Chibnall, the current showrunner of Doctor Who, and Jodie Whittaker, the current Doctor, will be leaving the show. And BBC, in their place, has decided to bring back Russell T. Davies, which is excellent news for Doctor Who fans in the know, because for those who are unaware, Russell T. Davies was responsible for rebooting Doctor Who in 2005. So he wrote a lot of the most popular episodes like Blink. He's responsible for the entire David Tennant run of Doctor Who, which is considered some of the best Doctor Who content in the last, 10, 15 years. This is super exciting news. And as a Doctor Who fan, I never really thought that this would be a possibility. Him leaving after Tennant left as well, and Stephen Moffat coming in for the Matt Smith era and the Peter Capaldi era, it never even crossed my mind that the BBC would be able to bring Russell T. Davies back. Now, Christian, you've seen Blink, right? And I think it's safe to assume you enjoyed that episode. Is that correct?
I really did. I think Blink was probably the best thing that I had seen from the series. I did enjoy the movie, and there was parts that I enjoyed, obviously. Do you think this is a play, again, not being a huge Doctor Who nerd, does it seem like a play of Doctor Who hasn't been hitting our numbers, it's getting a little stale, we need to inject some, let's get the good times rolling again with Doctor Who?
Yeah, unfortunately, and I want to say this. I can't really speak to the entirety of Jodie Whittaker's run. I can only speak about what I've heard through the grapevine. I watched about the first 5 episodes, and there were genuine moments where we really felt like the Doctor from past series. And I really enjoyed those moments. But overall, to me, there were too many companions, and it just didn't feel the same as Doctor Who shows of past. And I don't think that has anything to do with the fact that, Jodie Whittaker was the first female actor to play the Doctor. I honestly think it comes down to Chris Chibnall's writing and just the fact that his storylines weren't as compelling as what either Russell T Davies or Stephen Moffat were doing with the show. So unfortunately, when I read this article, that's kind of the sentiment that I was feeling. No one has directly come out and say it, but it's like Doctor Who's kind of in a lull. Fans aren't really super happy with the show. I 100% know that Jodie Whittaker has her fan base, and I'm glad that those people enjoy the episodes. But it does kind of seem like a play from BBC to be like, Russell T Davies, do you want to come back and save Doctor Who right before the 60th anniversary? Like, please come back. We'll give you a lot of money. That's kind of how it reads to me. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
It's almost akin. I'll close with this. It's almost akin to, we're covering the Bond films. Very excited. We got No Time to Die coming out, which we'll talk about in a bit. And we're covering Bond on our main feed episodes, which are on Wednesday. And it's almost like if 3 movies in, they're not performing. Daniel Craig is the Bond. And then all of a sudden it's like, guess what? Guess who's starring in the next James Bond? Guys, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back Pierce Brosnan. Right. Out of nowhere, right? And we'd be like, oh, we know why they're doing that. But this is good to hear because, obviously we one of his episodes was one of the strongest that we covered. So I'm sure Doctor Who fans are excited. Yeah, I know a couple crazies in the Doctor Who world, people who are fanatical, you included. And no one has been talking about the latest Doctor Who. Is like, I really have to say, it's really good stuff. And you're already there. You're already a fan. So yeah, you gotta think they're trying to inject some stuff. But it's weird. It's a decision that you'd make to either go to a new up and coming writer and give them the reins. And I think that's always more exciting than let's get the band back together.
Yeah, I think with the position that they're currently in, they're leaning more toward comfort and less toward risk taking.
That's when the most exciting stuff happens.
They took the risk, with Chibnall and Whittaker, and I think they're a little hesitant now. But I agree with you. I think it's always better to get fresh talent in there and see what they can do. But maybe at this point, in terms of a business strategy goes, that's not what the BBC wants to be doing.
Art and commerce, an eternal battle fought through many millennia of time. So that is Russell T Davies, the renowned writer for Doctor Who, returning as showrunner. Moving on, we've got SNL shakes up its cast for its 47th season. There's been the lion's share of hiring and firing going on over at the SNL. Firing. Sober September is over. Firing.
Lorne Michaels came out guns a-blazing.
He came out a Pistol Pete. The hot trigger finger. All right. We do things a bit different around here.
No, it needs to go away. Why 3 weeks in a row?
Oh, I love it. No, it hasn't made it into a weekly upload yet. Anyway, no one knows what we're talking about. So we've got some changes, some of which I'm very excited about. We had, I've talked about the milquetoast white people that are on SNL. One of them is gone. God, and so is my camera focus. I might need to turn on.
Come on, man.
I might need to turn on.
Beck Bennett isn't that bad.
I don't think he's that bad, but when it was Beck Bennett's leaving, and I saw a picture of him, I was like, I don't know what he's known for on the show. And I'm a casual SNL watcher. I'm a pop in every week when I hear it's good. Or I love the host, that's usually it. I watched the Elon Musk episode, not because I like the host, but that everything that guy does turns into a dumpster fire and is exciting. He's the main man of hype. This might be too much. This might be too much blue. Oh God, Brian, please come back.
Great.
Brian, please come back. Things are going off the rails. No, so I pop in every once in a while, but I honestly can't. I think Beck Bennett was in one of the Elon Musk episodes, and he delivered a couple funny lines in the saloon episode. Very dry. His humor, as I remember, is very dry. So sad to see him go.
He can also be super wacky, though. Over the course of the election, his Mike Pence was absolutely hilarious.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So I really did appreciate that.
couple great hits. He will be missed. No Sandler. No Farley. No,
definitely not.
No Norm Macdonald, R.I.P. No, I just don't think there was ever, like, what's his most famous character? Yeah, exactly. So, Beck Bennett's out, and I'm really excited about some of the talent coming in. One of the, can't do that on the video. Gotta get out of that habit. I'm so sorry, Chris. This is going to be such a terrible edit. Someone I want to highlight in there is, his first name's James. It's, I had it pulled up. James Austin Johnson. He was a guest on this video podcast. Also, I think it might be audio, called The Podcast Outside, where he did the most hilarious Trump impression. And Trump impressions are like, Donald Trump himself is like void of comedy because he is satire himself. We're not a political show, but let's be honest, Trump is an entertaining fella. Either way you look at it, like he's just a pop. He's something. And
prior to being president, he was an entertainer.
Yeah, so, he was an entertainer with the Apprentice and stuff. So he's like just a natural born person that draws your eye, right?
A showman. And he says a lot of ridiculous shit. Whether you agree with it or not, you're like, that's just how I like it done. Sure. We do things a bit different around here. Do things a bit differently around here.
Or like, what a goof of a president. I don't want my child to ever be like this person. Whatever your political spectrum is, the man is a satire enough among himself. But I gotta say, if you want to look up, I believe they're outside a Spirit Halloween. I'll link in the show notes. Chris, remind me because I won't remember.
Okay.
I want to link the Spirit Halloween where James Austin Johnson is he shows up and he plays like a person just randomly going there, and then he goes into a Trump impression because he's like possessed with the spirit of Donald Trump. So hilarious! It's the funniest Trump impression I've heard, and this is after years of making fun of the man. So. That takes a lot for me to go, wow, funny Trump impression, like after a year after his presidency. So, and then he also did, I don't think it was, I watched like 3 minutes of it and I was like, it's one of those funny ideas, but not funny in execution. He did a fake documentary about him moving to Austin, but he never did that.
Oh my gosh.
So like, it's a really funny idea. I watched like 3 minutes of it and it was almost just like too real. To where I don't know if it was fully working, but funny idea. So excited for that guy.
Yeah, that's really exciting. Yeah,
what do you think
we
of
should
this
also
news?
point out that outside of James Austin Johnson, we also have Aristotle Athari coming to the cast, as well as Sarah Sherman. And then, of course, other than Beck Bennett leaving, we also have Lauren Holt leaving. Last season was her first season, sadly. The 2020 season, I don't fault her for leaving.
It was, Chris, it was a rough year. It was a rough year for everyone.
An abnormal season for all the cast members. So that being your first season, it's a miracle that any of those cast members were even inclined to stay, or were able to really show what they're capable of during that season, because it was so far from the norm of what SNL usually is. So props to her for making it through that one season. Hopefully she does well in the future.
I mean, just to close on SNL, they do need a shakeup because I think there's been some really funny bits. There's been some of their shorts that are good, but really, like SNL is still like some people go like, oh, the Sandler days, that's the peak since.
It's all generational. That's how I feel about it. Like everybody has their SNL cast.
No, but I agree to a certain extent, but I really think like Lonely Island period. That's the last peak that they've had, and they're waiting on hitting the groove for a new generation. And I do think it's
say that, but we're also two men in our 30s who were in high school when that period was taking place, which is kind of the quintessential time that people get into SNL.
Yes.
So I would bet you anything that there are people in high school right now watching SNL going, Bowen Yang and Chloe Fineman are the peak that SNL has to offer, and they're going to feel that way.
But I
for the next 15 years.
disagree because I do disagree. I get the sentiment because I know it's been true in the past, but SNL, the Lonely Island was important because we entered a digital age, and that was how they drew people in from YouTube, which is how our generation, when we were going to college, adapted. We are now in TikTok age, and I keep talking about this, Chris, and I know you hate it, and you just are like, old man, get off my lawn about it. But the truth is that SNL really hasn't had a huge presence. Like they probably have like 1 million followers or whatever, but they're under like people that live in their dorm on the most important social media app right now. And that's where the kids are at. And they're not really dominating that space like they were able to come in and have a big YouTube presence. So I do think there is something to be said that I don't think they've clicked with this generation yet, because they're long form, they're a couple hours, they're a variety show. It's just not, it's a lot of content for how people are consuming stuff. And a lot of their shorts just really haven't landed as well as they have had in the past, right? I mean, they've landed more than, you know, a lot of like self-promoted content creators.
I don't know about you, but a lot of the recent music videos have been very funny. But I think what you're getting at is that Lorne Michaels needs to shake it up and start broadcasting SNL in a vertical aspect ratio. Right?
This is so inside baseball. Oh my God, it happened again. This is gonna be the theme. Blurry video. That's what my vision looks like now after getting back on the sauce. You know, it's I think that you're joking in jest about the vertical format. It's not really about formats in so much as it is
it's about accessibility
and connecting with, like, what about what is happening relates to the current like teenagers of the world. Like, I think they really do need a shakeup in how not the variety show can stick, because you can transpose those to shorter form content because they are, you know, 1 minute to 5 minute bits. What I'm saying is I don't think they've had the cast that's really connected with the next generation. I don't see young people talking about SNL like we were when Lonely Island, you know, was around. That was really an anchor point for like, yeah, but we all know about the Lonely Island, even if we don't watch SNL. They don't have that right now. They really don't.
How many young people do you talk to on a weekly basis?
I mean, I'm with the times. I do actually in my role. I would say
you do interact with a lot of youth.
In my current job, I see a lot of young people. A lot of older people. I see a wide demographic that use, you know, technology and stuff. So I do think I have an input into what they're doing. And guess what? They're all on TikTok, and I'm also on TikTok. And SNL really isn't.
They're posting the sketches on YouTube still.
Yeah,
every Sunday morning, every sketch from Saturday's shows.
They're also still broadcasting on TV.
Right.
So, you know, there's legacy formats that are tried and true.
Twitch. Yeah. They got to twitch it up.
But anyway.
Lorne Michaels, hit us up. We got ideas.
The larger
point
point
more accessible
is that the larger point
of today.
I do believe that in order to capture this generation and still stay viable, I think shakeups are good. So that's SNL. We got that from an NPR thing linked in the show notes. And then finally, ScarJo settles. There's a settlement that happens.
I think it's Disney settles. Like, there should be. That's important, I think.
Yeah, it's what is the quote? I'm happy to have resolved our differences with Disney. I got my money.
Yes. So if you look at the two quotes, both from Scarlett Johansson and Disney as a corporation,
they're both like, we're good.
Basically, like, it's over and done with. Let's forget about it. Scarlett Johansson is like, I very much appreciate my relationship with Disney, and I'm excited to work with them for many projects in the future. And Disney's like, we are so excited to work with Scarlett Johansson in the future and appreciate everything she's done for us as a company. We can't wait to work with her on Tower of Terror. I'm not quoting directly, but yeah, the lawsuit between Scarlett Johansson and Disney has been settled. She came out on top. Estimation is saying that she gained roughly $40 million, which is so silly because she was initially just asking for $20 million from Disney before they like went online and totally like smeared her name through the mud. So Disney ended up paying double of what she was originally asking for. And in the middle of the lawsuit, I don't know if you heard about this, Christian, but Disney actually flat out said they were canceling the Tower of Terror project due to what was transpiring. And now that the lawsuit's been settled,
they're back on.
They're like, we are so happy to work with Scarlett Johansson on the new Tower of Terror movie.
You know what it was?
So
it was
not only did she get the $40,000, but guaranteed she lobbied to get more work out of Disney as well as part of the settlement. So all I have to say is good for her. Like, she's been in the right the entire time.
Well, exactly. That she won the PR war. Like, yes. Disney came off as big corporate overlord, and ScarJo was like, I'm just an artist and I'm a woman, and I think we're all right. I think we're all right to go like, yeah, I mean, you kind of fucked her out of a deal. And she's already got a lot of money,
100%.
but she is a big part of the success of Marvel and has been great and has been a team player, and they were in the wrong. And everybody agrees, and Disney, like, someone at Disney was like, we're not going to take this. And then everybody on the internet said, why are you being such an asshole? And they're like, we're Disney. We're not the assholes. We're nice. We got to figure this out. So they lost the PR war. I guarantee this wouldn't have, this is very obvious, but they would not have settled like this, and they would not have reached the mutual thing if the internet was split down the middle. And like, well, Disney has a right to do whatever. They would have been like, hey, we can save, $40-50 million.
It's possible. Contractually though, they were in the wrong. By putting Black Widow day and date in both theaters and on Disney Plus, like, based on the contract that Scarlett Johansson had signed and what Disney had agreed to, they were breaching contract. So, like, regardless of how the internet's divided in this situation, like, legally, they were 100% in the wrong.
Possibly. I'm not a lawyer, and neither are you. And,
this is very true.
The law is very interesting in the way that it can be interpreted and contracts can be litigated. Not saying you're wrong. I really am not trying to, like, save face by saying, oh, no, you're wrong because the law. I have no idea. And all I know is everybody was against her, and suddenly they've changed their tune, and she's getting what she rightfully deserves.
Well deserved.
Disney still is a giant conglomerate, and they should be held to the highest standard possible. I award you no points, and we will continue on with our media criticism and Disney. And luckily, Chris is here to save your honor, Disney.
I wasn't defending Disney.
Not in this instance. Anyway, so that's an article from Deadline. Again, link in the show notes. All right, let's talk about some movies coming up. We got No Time to Die. It's James Bond month. So we won't spend too much time other than, I got to say, upcoming on Wednesday, we're going to talk about Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace.
Quantum of Solace as well.
And, a little bit of spoilers for how our vibe is going to go for this. But I'm more jacked than ever, more excited than ever to see some new James Bond. I'll leave it there. So this is very cool.
Too.
After much... when was our original? Because we've been wanting to do a James Bond month around No Time to Die forever.
I'm pretty sure we were initially going to do it in October of 2019.
Whole year.
Yes. No, 2 years. Yes?
No.
No.
October
No.
2020? No, it would have been 2020 because COVID was March.
2020.
Shutdown was March.
All I know that we've moved this James Bond month like
it's
6 times.
It's less about the time, and it's more about the amount of times it has been moved.
An insane amount of times. Yeah. So we're very happy to finally be delivering on this month.
Yeah, and more to come on
seeing
James
No
Bond.
Time to Die.
Yeah, absolutely. More to come on James Bond and this movie, but we're going to be covering it here. So if you're into that kind of thing, definitely stick around for our future episodes because we're going to be talking all Daniel Craig Bond this month. We also got Lamb in theaters being released. You know anything about this one?
I do not.
Nope. Who gives a shit? Muppets Haunted Mansion on Disney Plus. More kid content is great. You're a Muppets fan.
I'm a Muppets fan and I'm a Haunted Mansion fan. Both my wife and I are. So this is absolutely going to be watched on October 8th.
Yes, I can't imagine me watching this until, I have like a 6-year-old and it's Halloween. All right, moving on to TV. We've got Baking Impossible Season 1 premiering on Netflix and Legends of the Hidden Temple Season 1 on the CW. Very curious about the revival of a game show I liked as a kid coming to the CW. It smells like not good, but Chris,
you smell that? That smells like not good.
It sounds like fun TikTok content. Like if I can see,
maybe they'll be broadcasting it in a vertical aspect ratio.
Shut up about the vertical. I hate you so much. If we see like an 11-year-old face plant on like a tomb, like a styrofoam tomb, I'd watch that shit. Yeah, that'd be fun. So that's all the things coming out. There's also some stuff on another streaming service that I'm not going to comment on. And then for video games, we have Far Cry 6. Now, most video games, like a lot of movies, have been delayed. This is one that's gotten delayed. But we got another entry in the Far Cry series. And, I've played the past 3 Far Cry games, so I guess I could say I'm a fan. They are fantastic podcast games. And I really appreciate it. A lot of people are poo-pooing. One of my favorite ones since 3 has been Far Cry 5, which was like the occultist religious cult that was taking over like Utah or Colorado or some. It was not actually named, but this is an open world shooter where you it's got a weird tone. It's like serious bad guys. You should be scared. Also, you have a bear as a pet who's flying a plane. So it's a crazy game. They have the dude from Breaking Bad. They have Gus from Breaking Bad. I don't know his name off the top of my head, but he's the main villain, which is very exciting. Yeah, I'm probably gonna buy it. It's a lot of stuff to do. Throw on a couple of audiobooks, podcast. This is my relaxing time. Far Cry 6. Let's murder some people and relax. You've never played a Far Cry game, have you?
I haven't. No.
I think that's probably good for your style. I think you'll
probably matches up with the type of game that I usually like to play.
I mean, I'd say if you've never played a Far Cry game, like you could probably jump in on this one or the fifth one, and I think you'd find a lot to like about it. But it's definitely a certain type of busy work game, if that makes any sense.
How many skill trees are there?
You know, you usually in Far Cry games, you have to hunt animals and collect resources to upgrade your gear. So there is a progression that is very satisfying.
There's like an upgrade system.
Yeah, you start off, you're like, I got a shitty pistol and 1 grenade I can hold. And then you kill 6 raccoons and now you can hold 8 grenades. It's a great time. It's a fun time if you love killing animals. And
I love raccoon grenades.
Yeah, no, it's not a raccoon
They're
grenade.
so effective.
No, you've killed so many raccoons that it's built a large pouch, a raccoon pouch, in which you could fit more grenades.
I see. Which you can hold more grenades.
Yeah, you don't make grenades,
They're not grenades
out of the raccoon.
made of the material of raccoons.
Yeah, exactly.
I gotcha.
But I love 5 because it was all about like crazy, religious Christian cults, and it's kind of
That's right up your alley.
Right up my. Yeah, they would be listening to these really weird. I think I shared. I've talked about it on the show when it came out. We've been doing the show long enough that since the last Far Cry came out, I had things to say about it. But yeah, it was a great soundtrack. I'll leave it there. But so we got Far Cry 6, and then Metroid Dread. Maybe you have some more to say about this. You're not a huge. Have you played Prime? You're not like a huge
I have. I did play Prime when it came out ages ago when we were in high school. But Metroid is the Nintendo franchise that I'm really not, the biggest fan of. Our friend of the show, Danny Lopez, loves the Metroid series. I think it's because it's very akin to like a Mega Man type build.
Sure.
It's not exactly the same. But,
I believe it's a Metroidvania.
And Mega Man's like his favorite video game series of all time.
The Metroid series is a Metroidvania, actually. So
yeah, definitely. If Mega Man and Castlevania had a baby, it would be Metroid.
Yeah, I mean, Metroid defines a genre. I mean, when you hear gamers talk about a type of game, it's like you have to collect things to progress. It's Metroidvania, which is a combination of Metroid and Castlevania, because that's how those games worked, and they pioneered the genre. I might pick up Dread. I'm not a huge, as we know on the show, I'm not a huge Nintendo fan.
Not a big proponent of the Switch.
I do think the Switch is garbage hardware and needs to be upgraded, and it's holding it back. But what I will say is one of my favorite mobile games ever was Metroid Fusion, which is a Metroid clone, right? And I have the SNES Classic, and I tried to play old Metroid, and I was like, well, this game's just too old, and I don't have any nostalgia for it. But it really is like the most solid of it's a genre-defining thing. I never played Prime, though. I had a GameCube, but I never played Prime because I was a Halo player. And Prime, I think I would have liked it if I was my age when it came out, because it's much more of a adventure Metroid game with first-person perspective. So I never played the Prime series. If they do this is the problem. I'd want like an HD remake or a remaster on a good platform, and I'd probably get into it because it's ambient and story focused. So those attributes matter. So it's just it's a game I think would have been better in PlayStation's hands in this generation. I'm sad to say. Ooh. I know, but because I think it is so cinematic, the Prime series. But all that being said, Metroid Dread is a return to the 2D side-scrolling Metroid.
It's actually, I believe, a direct sequel to Fusion.
Yeah, and I'm a huge fan of that game. I really love it, and I think they do. Fusion, I'm surprised they haven't put more out, because Fusion was so inventive for the time. It was one of the most beautiful advanced games. It's one of my favorite side-scrolling games ever. So I am excited for Dread. It incorporates something I don't love, which is like there's an unbeatable thing following you that you have to dodge, and anytime that anxiety is put into a game, I have to turn off the podcast and sweat. So not the biggest fan of those mechanics. But that being said, if these reviews are hot, I'm probably going to pick this up for my fiance's Switch and steal her Switch and play it. So I'm excited. You think you're going to pick this one up?
Definitely not. Yeah, I've already decided that I'm not going to pick it up. Solely because, like I said, I'm not the biggest Metroid fan. And, you know, I'm a big Pokemon fan, and we got those games coming down the pipeline. So I'm going to save my $60 for that and listen to what you and Danny think about Metroid Dread. And that'll be enough for me.
Obviously, I'm standing by to make sure it gets the solid, like, you know, I'm not a big, like, numbers fan, but it is a good indicator from several different critics and knowing what their tastes usually are and their scores are. You see solid 8s and above from multiple critic sources, and you're like, it's a get. Like, something you're already interested in. So the numbers are good for that.
Yeah, so people are very excited about this game, so I'm excited to see what everybody thinks.
Right, and it's a weighted score. I think Nintendo games specifically do get about a 1.5 weighted average of like Nintendo first party made, and this isn't. I don't think it's first party. It's them licensing their property, if I'm not mistaken, to like a studio that hasn't done a Metroid game.
Right, I don't know who's developing it, so I can't speak to that.
I think they have good indie cred for the genre, from what I remember, but you know. This is a news platform, and this is why we need Brian. Anyway, that's going to do it for the news. Brian, thank you so much for delivering the news. This is how mechanical I've been in our show.
Extra wacky, Brian.
Extra wacky, Brian. Thanks, Chris. Let's move on into what we've been consuming with our Quick Hits. Quick Hits is that special part of the show where we talk about what we've been consuming in the world of pop culture. Chris, you're playing a video game. Again, topsy-turvy. Quick Hits today. Not Quick Hits. Yeah, Quick Hits.
It is Quick Hits.
It is Quick Hits. I was going to say weekly upload. Topsy-turvy weekly upload. We're on YouTube for the whole thing. You're talking about a video game, and I'm talking about a TV show? What's up with that? You've been playing...
What universe is this?
You've been playing a video game that came out a while ago. I think it came out last year, right? Mid last year, spring last year? Tell us about it.
However, it was just recently released for the Switch. And as loyal listeners know, Christian just threw up in his mouth.
I vomited.
Loyal listeners know that I like the Switch for its portability. I like the ability to play games in whatever room I want to in my house, take it with me on the go. So, what game have I been playing? Well, last month, we did a whole month of Kung Fu movies. And coming off the back of that... I was in the mood for some Dragon Ball. You know, we had talked about all these Kung Fu movies. Dragon Ball is a Kung Fu shonen series. And it just so happened that Dragon Ball Z Kakarot had been newly released for the Switch. So, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Let's talk about this game. There are pros and cons to this game. Things that I really like. Things that Christian's going to be very happy to hear me say. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is essentially an action RPG that follows... Goku and a lot of our main Z fighters over the entire narrative of Dragon Ball Z and some Dragon Ball Super. And, you know, in the past, I think Christian's played these games. I haven't played through the whole Dragon Ball Z story in a really long time. Some really good games that delivered this type of content in the past were like Legacy of Goku for the Game Boy Advance. Christian, did you ever play that game?
Not a good game. It was
fun at the time. It was like
I beat it a couple times.
Zelda Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah,
basically.
for Game Boy Advance game, it wasn't bad. But to be perfectly clear, as a huge fan of Dragon Ball Z, Budokai is 2 and 3 are the best iterations of a Dragon Ball Z game. And that was just a fun diversion for a kid with the technology of a Game Boy Advance. But I hear what you're saying. It was very good for the time.
Yeah, totally agree. And I was actually going to build to the Budokai games. You know, one of the problems with Dragon Ball games is that every new Dragon Ball game that comes out kind of recaps the entire story of the series. And because it's a story from the 1980s, there have been many opportunities for fans like Christian and I of Dragon Ball Z to replay the entire narrative. Budokai used to come out every single year. A new Budokai game used to come out every single year. So every year I would end up replaying the entire narrative of Dragon Ball Z. And let me just say this. I've been tapped out of Dragon Ball Z video games for a good 15 years at this point, just from overexposure. Right? But when this game came out, I was like, you know what? I think I'm ready to dive back into a cool action RPG. The graphics of the game look great. It's this cell shading aesthetic. It really is kind of like the anime come to life in a video game. Because it's an action RPG, there are a lot of interesting elements. Like there is a skill tree, Christian.
Ooh.
It's called a community board, where you take like these medals that you collect from various characters and connect them up, and it ends up boosting your stats in various ways depending on the relationships between those characters.
Can I interject with a question? Because I do have a genuine question.
Yeah, absolutely.
I watched a couple review videos of this game because I was considering buying it because I do like Dragon Ball. I'm also burnt out on the story, but I do like Dragon Ball, and I love RPGs. The skill tree system in this, does it affect all the characters? Because I saw multiple characters that are involved, and that made me go like, oh, I don't want to like switch characters to a character who's not leveled up.
It affects your entire team.
Okay, nice.
That's why I think they went with the name community board, because whatever stats you are boosting, boost everybody's stats, which is a great mechanic.
Yeah.
You know, and there are different community boards that boost different things. Like there are some community boards that focus on attack. There's some that focus on your cooking abilities, some that focus on your ability to collect Zenny, which is the Dragon Ball world's currency. There's some that focus on like defense and chi, or ki in this case. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack. It's actually a pretty robust action RPG. But some of the cons of this game.
Isn't there? There's one button for attack. Am I correct? There's one button for the fisticuffs.
No. So I found
fighting,
that the
for
controls
punching.
for the game.
For like your kicks and punches are mapped to one button. Is that correct?
One button. Yeah. But you really do have to vary it up between using the triggers and the other buttons on the controller to do everything that a fighter would be able to do.
But when you start an
in the
attack
Dragon Ball Z
sequence,
franchise.
it is the same animation every time you start an attack sequence.
Correct.
Oh.
So this is where some of the cons begin to come into this game. I really enjoyed... I only played through the Saiyan Saga. That was all I was able to get through before recording this episode. But I really enjoyed recapping the Saiyan Saga and going through the story again and seeing how the game adapted a lot of this material. The problem is that a lot of the characters, and you do play as other characters other than Goku. Over the course of the Saiyan Saga, you play as Gohan and Piccolo as well. And as the game progresses, you eventually end up playing as like Vegeta and some other characters. But it all becomes kind of a little monotonous. All the characters are very samey. And I really think if you are not a fan of Dragon Ball Z, or you aren't familiar with these characters or this story, this probably isn't going to be a great game for you. It is that nostalgia, or that connection, that really helps you drive forward with the game despite some of the game's flaws. Now, as loyal listeners know, I'm a huge fan of the Switch, as I mentioned. Christian is not. I regret buying this game for the Switch because there are so many frame rate drops. The cell shading just doesn't look as good as it could, say, if I was playing on my PS5. It is a PS4 game, but you can play it on your PS5. And I actually found myself mostly playing in docked mode for this game,
right,
on
because
my TV,
honestly,
on my couch.
it sounds like you're doing it because like RPG isn't your main back. Like you'll play RPG, but it has to be the story. Like it has to be a story you're interested in. So you're really enjoying it for the visuals, for the storytelling medium. And so to play it on, I'm not going to rag too much because it sounds like you're already self-aware and we don't need to convince anyone. But like when that suffers, it really hurts.
It's a shame.
I'm sorry, man.
Yeah. So my recommendation is, if you are planning on purchasing Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, don't get it on the Switch. Get it on Xbox or get it on PlayStation, because I think visually you're going to have a better experience. If you absolutely, like me, want portability in a gaming experience, go for the Switch. But if you are okay with sitting on the couch and playing this game, which I ended up doing,
but if you realize
anyway,
that you're at home,
which was very disappointing, I
99% of the time, and could be on your couch playing anyway.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
If you said if you're at home 99% of the time anyway, and want a big screen experience. Sorry.
Yeah. So I even texted Christian and was like, I think I've made a mistake, but yeah, overall it's a fun game. It's just not top tier action RPG. And get it on the best console you can if you're interested and you like these characters.
You know, it goes for future medium of Dragon Ball Z and for video games, which is it needs a new fresh coat of paint. It needs new actors. It needs new story details. It can keep the structure is amazing. It's a hero's journey. It involves a father and a son. I think up to the Cell Saga is like a complete the concept is the arc
passing
there,
of the torch.
Yeah, it's like full of what could be a masterful storytelling, and there really is that main arc of the torch being passed and the father and son's relationship is so beautiful, and I still think about it to this day. I think about it all the time, and it really just needs to be reworked for the next generation, and it can be done via video game form, but the people, whatever it is, Funimation or Akira Toriyama or whatever entity is holding the licensing, it's just they're so precious, and it's about how exact it is. It's almost like how bad fan culture can be to protect something so much to not let it become something even greater than it currently is. That
I definitely see what you're saying, but I don't agree with you.
Nothing is going to happen to the 30 years of content that we've gotten.
Agree with you.
Go, please. Go ahead.
Dragon Ball Z is fixed, right? Like it is a franchise that has told its story. It's over 40 years old at this point.
Yeah.
If you're going to reboot something, just make something new. Doesn't have to be Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball. Like this is a very archetypal, monomythic type of story. Like just make new content.
Oh, good.
And there are new shonen manga.
We're going to disagree here
because
there's a style to Dragon Ball Z that is aesthetically pleasing. That is essentially the IP. Yeah, you have Goku and Gohan and Piccolo and his characters. So you have great signature abilities. You have great signature style. You have a great signature arc. And essentially, Dragon Ball is a retelling, like you said, of Journey to the West, the Monkey King. I've joked often on this podcast that Man of Steel is the best live action Dragon Ball Z game because
absolutely
it is essentially the story of Dragon Ball. So I think that you would want to use the IP for things like the Kamehameha and Ki Blast, and for the teleporting moves that happen, and the Saiyan, the werewolf mechanic of them turning into giant, uncontrollable rage monsters. I do think there is value in taking the IP because you can take these just purely aesthetic things and translate them while changing the story, character dynamics, personalities, but while keeping the shell, while keeping the clothing, and make it really cool in a way to introduce new audiences and also excite people that can go like, this was my thing at one point, and how cool is it to see it born again? And this is why, like, X-Men the animated series, X-Men the Fox series, Spider-Man the comics, Spider-Man the cartoon, Spider-Man the live action thriller, the list goes on and on. They're all inherently their own great things, and so I'm not against IP, being passed down. And I think there is value to it being redone. I know you say make something new. There's that game. There's a Journey to the West game that a lot of people are hyping up because it's running, I think, Unreal Engine 5, and it looks crazy, and you're like a monkey person with a staff. So there's like an evolution outside of Dragon Ball that tells the same story that's occurring in media. But I, as a Dragon Ball Z fan, as someone who's a fan of the aesthetic and then the art, I pay money to see it.
I totally get what you're saying. And I know you don't have as much exposure to shonen media as I do. You haven't read as much manga or watched as much anime. But what I'm trying to explain to you is that what you are describing is shonen manga. Like, all the tropes of Dragon Ball Z you can find within Naruto, and all the tropes of Naruto and Dragon Ball Z you can find within My Hero Academia. So it's a genre.
Yeah,
really,
it is a genre. I get that, Chris, but you're also, and I'm very passionate about the Dragon Ball Z love, because why do I not connect with those other mangas? Why don't I connect with that other genre? Like, even when I was younger, there was other shit on Toonami that I watched, like Yu Yu Hakusho and Bleach and Trigun and all this other stuff that was in that genre that didn't connect with me or other people the way Dragon Ball did, right? Dragon Ball had a special zhuzh about it, and I want that zhuzh, but with a new coat of paint, with some new ideas.
I get what you're saying. Yeah,
because I won't watch.
I don't think it'll ever be done.
Maybe not. No. I'm not saying it will be. I'm not trying to bet against that happening. But what I'm saying is, like, you were talking about Kakarot, and I'm like, the mechanics don't justify it. I've, just like you, played all the Dragon Ball Z games and do not need to see the story redone in any way. So it's either the game mechanics are so cool that it justifies me experiencing the story in kind of a new way, which is the gameplay and the interaction there, or it's the idea made new and they just have not done that. And I want to see, like, I get it, there's other father-son relationships and power levels, but there's no other things with the Kamehameha, there's no other ones with the Saiyan, with the werewolf mechanic going on with the main character, and you know, the legacy of the Saiyans and Earth and the Guardian of Earth and Namek, and there's just specifics that are so delectable about Dragon Ball Z. Anyway, we've got a long tangent. That is to say, just like with 99% of all Dragon Ball Z material, if you're a fan, yeah, you'll find a way to like it. If you're not, why even bother?
You've probably skipped this already.
Which is sad. Which is really sad. And dude, I've seen some of these games. Like, my finger has been on the buy button for what is it? Ultimate Fighter or Fighter 22? What is the 2D one?
Fighters?
Yeah, Dragon Ball Z Fighters. Like, I'm probably gonna pick that up once it's like $6.
I have to say, that is an excellent fighting game.
Yeah, just because it's a great fighter and it has
people play that game competitively.
Yeah,
which speaks to the quality of the mechanics of that fighting game.
So, but I'm really only going to play
really
it
is
for
the best Dragon Ball game that has come out in a very long time.
I'm really only going to play it for a weekend because I've known to play with. I don't want to get an online competitive for a game that's been out for like 6 years. But I've played with you before. We brawled, so to speak. So I'm excited to get that game at some point just to have a tight fighter. But anyway, the game you were talking about is Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, which is available for Switch, PS4, and PS5 and backwards compat, and I believe it's also for Xbox.
It is.
All right, so moving on to what I've been consuming. I want to preface what I'm going to say with I don't watch a lot of TV shows. It's a lot to get into. It's mostly shit that I can agree on with my fiance because it's so time consuming. Between this podcast, music, media, doing what we do for the show, work. Long-running TV shows is really difficult to get into. So really the only time I can catch it is if it's like on its way out, because then it's fun for a conversation and I can watch it in progress as it develops. And it's like, you know how it is. Someone says, like, I watched a TV show, there's 8 seasons. You're like, no.
I don't know if I have time for that.
There's no way. Even if it's like I've been thinking about watching The Sopranos for my entire life. I think at this point, I have not watched The Sopranos.
Especially with the new movie coming out.
Yeah, I think about it once a month. That I'm like, should I start The Sopranos? I'm like, who am I going to start to do that? Like, anyway, so it's a tough game, the TV game for me. And we specifically stray away from it on this show because it's just such a big time commitment. We have lives. However, I read the first comic of Y the Last Man back in college, and I loved it, but I didn't buy graphic novels or comic books, so I didn't continue it. But I loved that first issue. I like absolutely was like, this is so cool. Friend of the show, a previous guest, Marcus Griggs, gave it to me, and I still have a copy of it. And I loved it, but I never continued it. And it just was like, I'm not in the circles to get the thing and review it, and there wasn't digital media at the time. So I've always thought about picking it back up. And then there was talks of the TV show. I believe Dan Trachtenberg was attached to it, who's from 10 Cloverfield Lane, and he's been attached to a bunch of shit, but he was attached to do a movie. So I was like, oh, good, I'll just watch the movie. It'll be fun. And then that got canceled and delayed and whatever. And now there's a TV show on FX, and I saw the trailer, and I was like, this actually didn't look half bad. I actually watched it. It was one of the few trailers I watched for researching a previous news
previous weekly upload.
So it's I really say, like, I want to say off the bat, if you're interested in the show, if you're interested in the idea of like a post-apocalyptic based on a graphic novel, Christian your buddy on Pop-O-Holics saying it's good, I say just watch it. Just like off the cuff, just watch it. I'm having a great time. And then skip ahead to the community feedback, or we'll see on another episode, because I don't want to, like, the concept of the show I think is great to just watch and experience, even though I knew it already. My fiance didn't, and it was so exciting. I'd put
pretty advertised.
It is pre-advertised. It really is. But Y the Last Man on FX/Hulu, if you want to watch it on a streaming service, is essentially about everybody with a Y chromosome suddenly drops dead, and the world just reacts to it. And I put the show on a whim, hoping that my fiance would like it, because I'm really interested in it, and I think it's about a bunch of women running the world, and it's really like one main dude, and like maybe she'll be into it. It's got intrigue, and I gotta say, like, we both are loving it, and it striked such a cool chord with both of us. As far as I mean, it's a little too intense for her. She gets stressed out. She starts chewing on her fingers. She's like, this show's intense. And it really is. I don't know if it's incredible. I don't know if it's the best show ever, but I'm having such a blast with it, and it's intriguing me. The performances are great. We got it's starring Diane Lane as Senator Jennifer Brown, who quickly becomes President Jennifer Brown. I'm going to mention Ben Schnetzer as Yorick. He's really great. He reminds me of like he's basically Seth Rogen's character and anything, but he's the last person on Earth, and so you're like, this is not the ideal version of a man, but it is a very common man that you'd align with and understand his motivations, but it's very conflicting with the gravity of him being the last human with a Y chromosome. And then the star of the show, absolutely such a badass. The reason that my fiance loves it and that I'm super digging it, Ashley Romans, who's an up and coming actress as Agent 355, is an absolute badass and is so magnetic in her performance. There's mystery around her character. It's just a ton of fun. She's so cool in it, and really just the star of the show. And it's shot well. The movie nerd in me sees some of the ways that they're getting around budget, because it's the whole face of the United States has been reshaped, and they're filming a TV show about it. And it's really like the world is in chaos. It's basically if Thanos' snap only wiped out the men, and we're living in it now. And they all died in very violent ways. It's
kind of a great show to come out at this time.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of horrific.
It is kind of a pandemic show.
And I gotta say, like, I know they're changing some stuff for like the fact it's coming out now, and it's all super smart. They introduced the political element very quickly. Like, it's like there's West Wing vibes that are going on. They introduced the political element very quickly. They introduced some figures that represent some like challenges we face as a society, and they put them in very interesting context. And like a lot of the stuff coming down the pipeline, I think they're on episode 5. We are all caught up. Episodes air on Monday. The stuff coming down the pipeline is really make or break for this show, and it could end up being just all right. But I still think it's been worth it to be on the journey. If you're interested in this kind of show, if you've read the comic, I'm so excited for the next episodes. They've introduced some really cool elements, but I could see it falling apart very quickly. It wouldn't take much for this whole series to unravel and become not great. So I will go on record saying that I don't have full confidence they're going to land it. But so far, they're doing a pretty good job. And I've been engaged, interested in all the different elements. It's very modern. It's very of the time. And the performances are great. Ben Schnetzer is just an aimless artiste at heart. And it's so cool seeing the dynamic play between that. They actually have a real monkey. They do some tricks to like...
I was going to ask... The most important question is, how is Ampersand in the show?
He's in the show. And they do smart things of like... again, I hope you just watch it, but, from a production element, they do fun things. Like he's carrying out a cage that makes monkey noises. You never see the monkey. We save money on having a live kombucha monkey running around. And kombucha monkeys, by the way, right now are in short supply. I don't know if you know this, but they are and what's interesting about it, and it's funny because I actually only learned about this because of what we've gone through. Kombucha monkeys are like the thing right before you go into human testing, because they're very close to humans. They react very similar to all sorts of testing. And so because of a combination of COVID short supply, animal rights groups, they are not available. But and I'm pretty sure that's why the writer of it, who is, do you know off the top of your head? I think he's a famous comic book writer. It's not Kirk.
Brian K. Vaughan?
Brian K. Vaughan, right? Who has done stuff in the past. Mm-hmm. I'm sure. Yeah.
Saga.
Well. Yes. Yeah. Friend of the show again, Marcus Griggs loves Saga as well. I think it's probably one of his favorite writers. Has done a lot of great work in the past, and probably was very aware about that being the, with the story elements happening, that Campucha monkeys are very common lab animals. So anyway, he's in it, and there is live monkey, and there's a little bit of CG monkey, but it's done very well. We're getting in the nitty gritty of how they're doing the monkey. I think normal audiences would not notice a thing. You just have a monkey there all the time. They've smartly saved a lot of money, and I'm always down for that. I do appreciate good budgetary use of a show, and I think they're doing it well. I know the trick, but it's done well. So I'm having a really good time with it. It has me stressed out, but I'm a fan, and we watched one episode in the hopes that my fiance would like it, and we binged the entire thing. We stayed up till like 2 a.m. We just couldn't get enough. It was when there was 4 episodes. Why the Last Man? Huge recommend. I really don't think it's a capital G great show, but if you're a fan of the comic book, if you're a fan of the concept, I think it's delivering all the essentials to make it work. And the acting is very good. The writing is good enough that it's working for me. Are you interested in catching the show?
Absolutely. I've just been trying to find a time to introduce it into Mickey and Mai's television cycle. As I mentioned in the past on the show, like we usually have a cycle where, all the fall shows we start to watch the new episodes and stuff. So we typically have like 4 or 5 shows that we're watching consistently every week. Brooklyn Nine-Nine just ended, so maybe I can like squeeze this in there. But we would have to get caught up. You said there are about 5 episodes that have aired already.
Yeah, and
each week that passes makes it harder.
I will say it's an easy like dive. Like she'll be wanting to watch the next one. This is why it's a great couples thing. If you've got a significant other, she's team ampersand, and she goes like from the get. She goes, that monkey better not die or we're turning this show off. So she was completely emotionally invested in the monkey's life, and I was like, ampersand's the main character, so we're good.
Like, you'll be fine.
We're gonna be fine. So I was very excited when she said that. I was like, cool, we're gonna keep watching because I know he makes it out of the first issue. So
I hope the show does well enough to make it through the whole story. That's my only wish. Yeah,
and I have what's really enjoyable for me, and I'm not comparing it directly against. I know a couple of things about the show, the graphic novel as a whole, and I know some of the key differences, which is because who his family is very important, and that doesn't come out until later. That's day one immediately addressed. And
really,
yes, so you're right into the small intimate things and this larger national and worldwide conflict. And what I can't imagine that the specifics of some of the political stuff was done back then, because it is very apt. And I will just name drop one politician. There is a conflict with a Marjorie Taylor Greene character and politics in this that is just entering to play. That is very interesting. Wow. And I'm very excited. I can't imagine they were this on the nose with kind of what's playing. And it's very exciting. And again, worth it for Ashley Romans. And you will agree with me 100%. Do you remember the character of Agent 355? And was that a standout character in the graphic novel?
I've never read the graphic novel.
Okay. Well, anyway. I
know a lot about the graphic novel.
What's cool is it's not just like, when I just in closing, one thing that's very interesting, not knowing a lot about the graphic novel, is that I remember watching Lost, and the mystery was like, where the fuck are they? What's going on? And this show does have a mystery box of why did all of the men die? And right. And then also like the cool thing is like how is politically the United States in the world going to get through this? So what happened? How is this going to shake out politically and with civilization, because things aren't well? Are they going to be able to find a cure or whatever? And then also the mystery of this Agent 355, as you can imagine by the name of it, comes from a very specific unknown secret agency, and you're like, what's going on with that? There's so many threads that at least if they can nail a couple of them, it's gonna be worthwhile. So as for like a fun action drama thing, it's winning for me 100%. I love it. That's Why the Last Man. Hopefully it doesn't drop the ball. Streaming on Hulu and FX. Hopefully you catch it, Chris. I'd love for you to watch it, and we're watching.
We got
something coming out
together. I'll try to do it in the next couple of weeks here.
I'm telling you, as much as they'd like to admit, our wives and significant others are very similar. And I could say hooked very soon.
I think Mickey would like it too.
Yeah. Stressed. She has said we put on the next episode late at night. And she's like, this stresses me out a little too much. So there was that. It was the stress level, but it was a good time. I'm happy to always be enjoying something with my lady. So again, that is Why the Last Man streaming on Hulu. All right, let's close off with some community feedback.
Welcome back to the community feedback section, fellow Pop-O-Holics and loyal listeners and loyal viewers. This is the first time we've ever done the community feedback section on video.
Is it?
So welcome.
I don't know if that's true. I think we've done a whole. Haven't we done
maybe once before?
Maybe once. It's rare,
but we haven't done it many times. Yes, as Christian mentioned, there is no poll this week. In fact, I think he and I are going to have a conversation about the poll after this episode. I think I want to shake it up in how we're delivering the polls to you guys, but stay tuned for that. But we do have a Throwback Thursday episode this week.
Book.
What'd you say?
I got 2 words for you. Facebook.
No, definitely not. We're not going back to Facebook, no matter how much my wife would like us to start posting polls on Facebook again. But that's not going to happen. Anyway, for our Throwback Thursday episodes, we're in the middle of our timey-wimey time travel month back from 2019, I guess. And this coming Thursday, we're going to be sharing episode 36 with you, which is our discussion about Back to the Future. We covered Back to the Future. I remember it being an interesting discussion in that we were a little divided in our opinions of the film and some of the content. So I think you're going to have a lot of fun listening to this episode and our discussion about Back to the Future. Do you remember that, Christian, at all?
Yeah, I remember being very upset by the plot of it. I'm not a huge. It was interesting because I'm not. It's a lot of nerd culture loves Back to the Future, and I think it's fine.
Most would consider it a perfect movie.
Yeah. Like it's a classic among some people, and I don't dislike it. It's a good movie, but I'm not obsessed with it, and I think it's fine. It's not my favorite movie. It holds no very special part. Honestly, nostalgically, Teen Wolf is more. It was not. I think Teen Wolf is a worse movie, but nostalgically, I watched Teen Wolf a lot more as a kid because I had it on VHS. So I don't have attachments. So it is interesting that, from a perspective of I'm watching this for I think I watched it for the second time.
Oh, wow.
So it is, I think, an uncommon nerd take because people just kind of by default love it. And I think it's just fine. And it's kind of weird. I think it's honestly a weird movie.
I'm not going to dispute that with you, but loyal listeners, that's just a brief taste of what the conversation's going to go like in this week's Throwback Thursday episode. So check it out. Head on over to, well, you're already here. You're at our YouTube channel if you're watching us in this video right now. So if you haven't already, remember to subscribe, smash that like button, and then, of course, click the bell icon so you get notifications whenever we post new content. Christian, where else can our loyal listeners and viewers find us online?
Yeah, whether on the audio feed or on the YouTube channel, in the show notes you will find, or in the video description, you will find a link tree that links all around the social. Follow us wherever you want. Comment on the post. Let us know what you're interested in. If you disagree with me, I got a lot of controversial hot takes, so feel free to throw those comments in there.
We haven't gotten canceled so far. I think we're doing really well.
We haven't. Pop-O-Holicscast@gmail.com is where you can email us directly. We respond and read every single email that you send us. Rate us 5 stars on your podcast catcher of choice. And catch us online at our independent creative socials. Chris, where can people find more of your work on the internet?
Loyal listeners and viewers, you can find me on Twitter at Chris Conkling, talking about all things nerdy, comic books, television, movies, video games, collectibles. If it's nerdy, I'm talking about it.
And you can find my band at Midnight Satire. That's at Midnight Satire. There's new music coming out. AR is now streaming my latest single from the project Midnight Satire. And I got to say, Chris, there's a banger coming out in 2 weeks. I do think that it's going to do pretty big numbers.
I'm excited, dude.
It's got, I put a lot of money into a nice, there's a flashy music video. If this doesn't happen, I'll probably stop writing music because this is a catchy banger. It's a fun song.
I think it's going to be a hit, to be perfectly honest. I've heard it already and it's excellent. In fact, every song on the album is excellent. So absolutely check out Christian's music.
Thank you, Chris. So at Midnight Satire, please listen and tell me what you think of it. That'll do it for this episode of the Weekly Upload. We're happy to bring this to you on YouTube. We actually went longer than we thought for just the two of us. We had a lot of fun conversations. So join the conversation in the comments below. And we got some really awesome content coming up this week. I've already hinted at it, if not totally foretold it. But Chris, what are we covering on our main topic episode this week?
Christian, on Wednesday, we're kicking off our Daniel Craig James Bond month with a double feature, Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace. So be sure to check that out.
And I'll be drinking multiple Vespers in celebration of it. All that and more on the next episode of Pop